Kast.
Hello and welcome to Kast. I'll be your host, Kalis, and we have an amazing Star Citizen theme show for you today. Today we are joined by community manager and developer Ben Lesnick of Cloud Imperium Games.
Hey, Ben Lesnick here.
Alright, well today we have a big list of questions that Ben has graciously decided to answer for Kong, and we have most of our regulars and a few more here in the roundtable. Today on the roundtable we have Azrael Domanov.
This is me.
Kast.
Hey, what's up?
Brandy.
Oh, hi.
Connor.
Hey.
Ian.
Yo, how's it going?
Boojum.
Hey.
Third Star.
Number one shitposter.
And Norris.
Hello.
Ben, we wanted to thank you again for joining us on your Sunday. We know it's your personal time, and we appreciate you joining us here. We wanted to congratulate you on your information-dense town hall recently. That was an amazing presentation, and I'm sure many are still digesting the information you guys have presented. We all want to know what is going to be your next scheduled large event?
Let's see. I think our next scheduled large event is at during PAX East. We're going to be at the same venue we were last year at PAX East. It'll be largely focused on the FPS module. In fact, I think tickets just went up on sale at the site on Friday. So if you're interested, pick one up. Should be a good time.
All right, sounds good. I'm sure we'll have some people wanting to go and see what. Is there anything you can tease what we're going to see?
Nope, just a lot of FPS. We're gonna have a bunch of the guys from Ilphonic. Travis will be there. He's lead FPS producer here in Santa Monica right now. Lots of FPS stuff.
Well, we got a lot of people looking forward to that, so I'm sure you can have a lot of interest in that. All right, well, before we begin with our giant list of questions, did you want to talk about anything before we begin that the backers might want to know?
No, I'm happy to just get to the questions. They'll probably be better than anyone I could ask myself.
All right. Let's begin then. All right, Boojum, if you want to take it away.
Sure. So, there have been some changes in the positions over at Cloud Imperium Games recently. What's your official title now? I know things have shuffled a bit.
This is actually something, one of those ask me in a week questions, because I'm in the process of having my title changed. I'm senior community manager right now, but I'm going to be director of something or other once we've all settled.
So, director of something or other, Ben Lesnick. Okay.
Community engagement and creative strategy or something. I can't even remember.
That's wonderful.
Having your titles made up for just you is always good when you're at a job.
Yeah, it's funny. They kind of grown up around me, so still answer right to Roberts, but I go out to other companies and like, oh, I'm community manager, and they're like, oh, you clean up the forums. Like, not really.
Not really anymore. You have a pack of people for that now.
Yeah, actually, they do a fantastic job. They really save my brain.
Well, our next question is from me, and wanted to know what other manufacturers of joysticks for the Star Citizen joystick are being considered, since Cytec was already removed from the potential manufacturers.
Let's see. Potential manufacturers are Thrustmaster, Razer, and there was a third one that Logitech.
Are you guys leaning towards any particular one, or?
We are. The deal is very, very close to happening, and we'll be able to give specifics. Just one of those things where working with an outside organization makes it harder to tell you exactly what's going on.
Oh, yeah, I completely understand. But, yeah, it's just nice to know because there's a lot of people still waiting for that, They're getting X55s, but, they want that official one. All right, well, I'm sure we'll get more into that in the future. Oh, Brandy has something he wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, is there any design for the joysticks that are going to emulate the ships? I know that was like an idea on one of the votes, but is that kind of the basis of why you're going with one company or the other? Can one kind of do it better than the other one?
It's mostly about what different companies will allow us to do. I think we first put our feelers out there, and they were like, "Oh, well, we'll just stick the Star Citizen logo on one of our existing joysticks." And no, that's not what we want. So we've kind of gone through a lot of iterations explaining how we want it to look like a joystick from a ship. It needs to have all this functionality that's specific to Star Citizen. The partner we have now is someone who understands that.
Cool.
Well, moving along, I had another question. Previously, before on Concast, we had asked you if there was going to be an Arena Bucks money system, and you had mentioned that you were going towards an achievement system. Recently, though, it said that you were including the Arena Bucks system in the near future patch, 1.1 or so. Can you explain why the shift in policy, as well as talk a little bit about how it will be implemented?
Yes, we did. We did decide to go with the Arena Commander Bucks system for. We're calling it 1.1. I've seen that the social module is also like 1.1 and FPS is 1.1, so one of those three things actually will be, but it'll likely be our next big release, will be the Arena Bucks thing. It's largely a response to the criticism that the game is pay to win, which is not the goal for the entire Star Citizen project, but we start to see it with only the fastest race ships, you have to pay more for the faster raising ship, and so on and so forth. So we want to, even though Arena Commander is not the final form of Star Citizen, we want to kind of take that criticism away, give people the opportunity to have all the ships and all the weapons if they work for it.
Well, we can really appreciate that because, nobody wants pay to win. I'm curious, how would you respond to the fact that people feel that Arena Commander is actually pay to win, in the sense of the Super Hornet is one of the more dominant ships right now? And, it just has more weapons and can put more damage in place.
I think it's much more something that's risen up organically rather than was the goal from the start. I think going into Arena Commander, we all thought it was just going to be sort of a tech test, a demo to show you guys that the game existed, and it's just sort of become more and more over the iterations. So we want to treat it like it's a final game as well. So that's pretty much where that came from.
So just a simple fact of not having everything in place yet.
Exactly. I mean, we never really thought about the idea of winning Arena Commander. Going into it, it seemed it was more of just to show off what was possible than there was any particular. We didn't go into it saying, "Oh, there's going to be Arena Commander leaderboards and everybody's going to want to fight for the top of those." It just seemed like it was more of a transitory experience. But as it's come together, we get it. People want to be competitive in AC, and we're going to let that happen without them having to pay extra money.
Now, you did mention in a recent RTV, or someone did, that you're going to allow people to buy or unlock ships with the Arena Bucks as well as equipment?
That's right. Likely it's going to be rent a ship for a period of time, so 1,000 credits and you rent an M50 for a week, that sort of thing, because we actually built that functionality for our subscriber program already, so it can carry over into both. The difference between a ship that you earn or rent in Arena Commander, whichever way we go, is that it will be just for Arena Commander. All the ships you purchase through the site right now are going to be your starter ships in the Persistent Universe, but a ship you earn in Arena Commander you'll just have in the fictional game within a game once we launch.
Oh yeah, of course. And but the equipment, is that going to be unlocked more permanently than, say, ships?
Yes, for AC, we're not thinking at this point you earn you earn a missile rack and you have it forever in the Persistent Universe.
No, I'm specifically talking about Arena Commander. Do you intend to do something with the FPS module in that as well?
We are kind of on the fence about weapons and things for the FPS module. Our goal at launch for the FPS module is to have a full set of weapons for everybody, something from every class. And if we end up having weapons you earn later, hopefully we'll be a little bit more thoughtful about it. It'll be more naturally built into FPS
yes,
module,
learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we have Kast had something to say about that.
My question was answered in the speech that Ben gave.
All right. Okay. Well, moving on, we have a question from Norse, but Brandy's going to ask it for us.
Yeah, with the larger mocap studio in the UK now up and running, what's the plan or what's going to happen to the mocap studio in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, we have that all set up in the UK, and we're getting ready for the big mocap shoot for Squadron 42.
So the LA studio got replaced by the UK studio?
Well, actually, the initial mocap stuff was done in Austin, and then we kind of decided to move all that to the UK just because of, well, there's tax subsidies for doing that kind of work there. Also easier to get people to work on it. And there's some professional film talent in London who you can bring in to work on a project like this. And it's going really well. As I say, we're getting ready for a very large shoot. Here in Los Angeles, we are working on moving up to a new office. It's going to have some of the equipment for smaller shoots, like, you need an animation, or, you need a face capture, something like that.
So just like hotfix stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Like a pickup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And we'll have that in the new studio here in Santa Monica, but the big stuff is already in the UK and getting primed for a shoot right now.
So what you're saying is Squadron 42 is just going to be filled with British accents?
No, just British movements.
Because I thought you guys were doing the whole performance capture thing.
We are, but it will not be an exclusively British cast.
Okay.
I would say we learned from Privateer 2 back in the day, which was Aaron Roberts' big full motion video game after Chris did Wing Commander 3, Wing Commander 4. He did Privateer 2 at Pinewood Studios in London, and I think Americans are still complaining about not being able to understand any of the dialogue, so we're cautious of that.
Cool. So another question from Norris that I'll read for him. When PlanetSide launches, will the Mobiglass system launch alongside it? And just kind of following up with that is, the latest Mobiglass design doc implied that the ship customization could also be done using the Mobiglass itself. Does that mean that the holotable is going to be phased out? And any ETA on when it's going to be possible to do this in Arena Commander, like use the Mobiglass?
You will see the foundations of Mobiglass in the social module. Not everything they're talking about in that doc. Holotable will be phased out. It's actually something of an ongoing debate on the team between whether or not it's going to be replaced with another holotable or something entirely in your Mobiglass. Chris's preference is that he wants the game to make you go out and do things when possible. So if he doesn't want to have people just kind of play the entire game in the Mobiglass. So that's a lot of where that design comes from, is if the Mobiglass entirely replaces the holotable, you'll still have to go to your ship to lay it out using the Mobiglass.
He just wants it more organic and broken up and stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't want that situation where you land on a planet and then there's a menu where you do everything, you take off again. He wants you to go into stores and move from hangar to hangar, that sort of thing.
So the real question here, though, is when is the horrible, horrible holotable going to go away? Or when is it going to be made better? Nobody likes it.
It's going. We have the same feeling for it on the team, so it's on its way out. Although we're still using it for it's modifiable enough from our point of view that we can do things like test out the skin selection with it. So
I know you keep adding complexity to it. It's like, you're never going to get rid of it.
Don't worry, the table is going away, I promise.
So it's going to be replaced completely by the Mobiglass system?
It's a debate. It's either going to be replaced by Mobiglass system or a different holotable, something without the issues the original had.
Third star.
I wanted to say that while the usability of the holotable is not very high, there are elements that are very useful in the sense that the 3D ship and weapons being shown on the interface itself, that's great. I mean, they're good parts. It's just that the usability is not there.
Yeah, it's definitely a learning experience. It's it kind of shows you what we want to do, just better than that.
Okay, I'll lead in with the next question from Norris. It's been mentioned that with larger ships, like ships of the line and such, that once they're populated in the universe, they become persistent, as opposed to the smaller ships like the Auroras and stuff. What's currently the smallest of these large ships that will be made persistent, like the Idris or the Javelin?
That's another one where it's much more of a game balance issue than we're able to answer at the moment. We're thinking it's larger ships of the line, cruisers, carriers, escort carriers that are absolutely persistent. Ships like the Idris and the Javelin are a debate where we're trying to come up with an interesting way to dock the larger ships so that they disappear. So we're thinking maybe you don't have a Javelin land on a planet, but that there is some interstitial point where it docks with a transfer station in orbit, and then it's technically logged out, so you don't see it anymore. So ongoing debate, and it's going to be a game balance decision down the road.
Are we still at the point that the Idris is currently the largest ship that can land still?
I would say leaning towards the Javelin right now.
Because in the earlier concept art, the Javelin did show it landing.
There's concept art of the Javelin landing, and I believe it made Dan Tracy very angry because it didn't make sense that it would be able to go into an atmosphere like that. So we get art like that, and the team has its own reactions to it.
Will there be any limitations to a ship that's docked in orbit? Can it be potentially more vulnerable in some way? Mess that up? Vulnerable in some way?
Possibly. We have talked, and a lot of this is yet to be locked down. In fact, it came out of kind of our discussion about the Hull series, which is being concepted now, how they offload and on the cargo, even in the larger variants. So it's possible that the cargo loading and unloading process in orbit may be a weak point. It's something we've discussed, but up in the air, also.
So potentially piracy or losing cargo, maybe dangers. I mean, like, more specifically, if it's docked, could somebody potentially come by and mess with the ship in some way? Or would it be pretty much more or less safe in orbit?
We're looking at it both ways. It seems like there could be some interesting gameplay where you're offloading cargo and that's when you're attacked, but it also could be incredibly frustrating. So could go either way.
Getting to the whole series you just mentioned, are you going to be able to like dock them inside each other, kind of like the Russian dolls, since they're much bigger?
That's funny. We actually used the phrase Russian nesting doll several times during the design meeting about those. I think you'll be surprised with what you end up with for the Hull Cs. They're not the traditional, big space box anymore. I can't spoil it anymore.
Oh, they're not?
That.
Okay, because for the longest time you guys said they basically were going to be, so...
Yeah, we've come up with an interesting concept that we think works pretty well with our cargo system, and we're thinking you guys are probably going to see that next month.
Oh, okay, cool. We'll look forward to that. Kast had some to follow up on that.
Yeah, well, speaking of docking, when you were talking about bigger ships docking, smaller ships not having to go... bigger ships not having to go planet side and such. What kind of a difference will the price point be in docking a larger ship and docking a smaller one? Will there be a major difference, or will it be just a slight increase?
A lot of the larger ships, we're thinking, they won't land traditionally on the planet. So you'll dock your 890 or your Hull E or any ship like that in orbit, and then you'll shuttle back down to your hangar, and maybe you'll see your 85X or your whatever transport parasite ship in your hangar rather than the larger ship. But we haven't actually built the orbiting platforms or locked down that system at all yet. So it's all kind of a discussion that's going on right now.
All right.
Another question from Norris. As a follow-up to the Javelin debate, what does the 23 minimum crew imply? Is that players only? Can it be NPCs? Can it be a mixture? Does that mean that the Javelin's at its minimum viability at 23, or can it effectively do everything that a larger crew could do?
I believe 23 was the kind of our estimate for what would be a great way for... It's not you need to have 23 people to play. It's more it's most effective when you have this number of people playing. And of course, that's a very rough estimate at this point. What came out of our all discussions of capital ships a couple months back was we're going to let one person try it by themselves from one station. We're going to let one person try it with 50 NPCs, and it'll be that person's game to fail if they want to. So we're going to let one person control any ship, or we will let 23 people do it, and we'll see which one goes better. And our suspicion is the 23s.
So
23
one
23
person
people.
would be able to just man the whole ship by themselves?
Well, that's the idea behind these multi-role seats in the capital ships. So you can sit at the command seat in the Javelin, and you can swap from roll to roll to roll to roll. And if you want to man 30 turrets yourself, we're going to give you the opportunity to fail.
So you could do it, just not at the same time.
You can try, basically. We're going to
You can try.
we're going to let you fail.
So basically, okay, you can run back and forth on this FPS size ship of a level. But
So just to clarify, 23 is where the size is for effective combat for the Javelin then. It's not the minimum that you would need, it's where you'd want to be if you want to make it useful.
That's our guess, yeah.
Okay.
And that could refer to yourself and 22 NPCs or yourself and 22 friends.
all right, Kast, you have something?
Speaking of maximum number of people the ship is effective with, will there be a hard cap to the amount of people you can stuff into a spaceship?
No, it's all based... well, right now it's based on space. I think there'll probably be modifiers for whether or not your systems are generating enough oxygen resources and so on for all those people. But right now, if you can cram 100 people into one place, then you can have them there.
So you can vent 100 people into space too.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, sorry. I thought Connor had a question, but he got it. Since the design for shields currently indicates that they will not be able to stop physical objects from passing through them, how will larger vessels like the Idris of Javelin avoid small objects that could do critical damage, like space junk or micrometeors or just stuff floating around a battlefield?
It's more not that they're going to kind of reflect objects, but they will prevent them from causing damage. I'm going to dodge this question, but I will tell you that next week we will have a big post on shield design from the guys working on that system. So everything you could possibly want to know about shields will be at the website on Friday, I believe.
Is that
Oh,
just
cool.
going to be the design doc, or is that going to be stuff that you've actually implemented?
It'll be both. On Friday, we're going to offer a couple of shield systems in the Voyager Direct store. So I told
Like
I
upgrades.
told Travis and as upgrades. So I told Travis and Calix and Dan that we need to tell people exactly how these work and how they play into the larger game system before we sell them. So that's all coming.
I can't wait.
Is that where we're going to be using our arena bucks? Voyager Direct?
Down the line, definitely. 1.1 won't be this week. It's further off. So these will just be in Voyager. Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the initial question. Yes. Voyager Direct will serve as the platform for the Arena Bucks, and we're kind of going to reinvent it a little bit. We're talking about adding the ability to melt items and make it more like the other store, but also distinct.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. For our next question, comes from Whiskey. He's asking, are tractor beams and cargo space necessary for exploring? What are the bare minimum pieces of equipment you need to explore? For example, a jump sensor or nav computer?
Well, as Tony likes to, Tony Zervek likes to classify explorers in different ways, and his most pure is the pioneer, somebody who goes out there simply to get their name on things. So for that, you would need a jump sensor, a jump drive, and a lot of luck. And there is profit to be made from that, because even if you're not going off and collecting items to sell, you're still gathering information that's incredibly valuable. So you can return back and you can sell the location of that system, the path through that jump tunnel, to the UE, to some other group for high credits. So I suppose that pioneer is the most pure explorer, and jump drive, jump scanner, and all the standard ship parts.
I think why he mentioned tractor beams is because the the smaller exploration ship that we have is the 315P, the dedicated explorer ship, and it has a tractor beam, and I think a lot of people were wondering how it was actually meant to be used.
What I think happened there is that at that point in the game's development, we did not classify a difference between an explorer and someone looking at salvage. We were thinking that the salvage mechanic would be much more simplified, and it would be part of exploration. So you'd go out there and you'd find abandoned ships and technology and so on, and you would grab that as part of the explorer's job. And now they're
like salvaging and exploring were the same thing. Okay. So it was kind of a dual role ship.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Bujam, you had something to say?
Yeah. So with this issue of being able to find the charted course through the jump to a new system and then selling that to someone, it seems like a lot of the value in selling it to a third party is the idea that they'll have exclusive access for a while. Is there anything at all that would stop them from just selling it to 3 people independently and then letting them all be angry?
Well, there's going to be a system of sort of, we're calling it bonded sale. So if I want to guarantee that this information is only being sold to me, that would be part of the contract I sign with another player. And in a case like that, the UEE will take their 5% of the sale to guarantee that this information doesn't go to anyone else. If the sale is not sold in a bonded way, then yes, you can go out and sell it to as many people as you want, and they can fight for it.
Would the UEE be willing to do that for entire systems, though? It seems like a new jump point would be very valuable to the UEE.
A jump point is that is a good question in terms of a jump point. We think of the system more in terms of bounty missions, and we're kind of simply also applying to this. That's one that's going to take some thought. Maybe it's not the UEE. Maybe it would be some outside insurance organization. I will bring that one up. That does warrant some thought.
All right. Next question we have from Whiskey. We heard a little bit about the Warlock variant for the Avenger, but what other customizations are being brainstormed for the Avenger?
That is one I have to dodge, absolutely. Chris Roberts can give away variant information, but I don't think I could get away with
it. Okay. We won't get you into trouble. All right. Well, we'll skip on to the next question then. We have a question from Azrael and Whiskey, and I'll ask it. It has to do with the weapon classes. You told us to forget everything we know about the equipment sizing system and the weapon class. How radical of a change will we be seeing, and what's the system going to be? We've already seen some ability to switch things like engines and shield generators around. Do you think the items on ships will become more or less swappable in the future? And if there's any kind of hints about how you could mention about how things are going to react or how things are going to be as far as the class system.
No, I think that down the line items will actually be more swappable. We're working on kind of a more universal system for ships that you'll see applied to the Avenger and the Cutlass shortly, and then the Constellation Freelancer shortly after that. Weapons, the whole weapons. Chris Roberts' big issue with the weapon system is that the initial weapons types seem arbitrary, and that you can't identify, type 4, that's this type of turret, type 6, that's a capital ship weapon. He wants to do away with all of that and change them to a much more universal system for weapons. I don't want to say too much more because it's not my design, and I don't quite understand it yet.
Can I offer a suggestion? Can you get rid of numbers off of either put numbers on sizes and put letters on classes, or vice versa? Because saying size 3, class 3, it gets really confusing.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see is only one number rather than 2, and it's going to make a lot more sense and let you do more with an individual hardpoint.
So they're going to be a lot more modular. I know it's a buzzword, but
Yep, it is a buzzword, but yes, that is the goal. So no more, this is a class 2 weapons mount. You can't put a class 1 weapon, even though it looks like it'll fit right there. So
now, are you going to be I know you can't talk a lot about it, but are you going? Because I know you're using missile mounts and such as balancing factors. Are those going to be switchable?
Possibly.
Okay.
Expect a big post from, I believe it's Calix and Dan here in Santa Monica. It's not going to be this week, but maybe within the next month or so, we'll have that out to everyone.
All right. That's really kind of what I was looking for. All right. I know you can't talk a lot about it because they're still kind of working on it, I imagine. Connor had something to say about the stuff.
In reference to size 3, class 3, you could always go with small, medium, or large.
Yeah, anything like that would be better than just adding numbers, I think, because it just gets confusing when you start talking about masses of weapons. Like these bigger ships, they have all these different mounts and stuff.
Yeah, that's our feeling too, is the numbers there's too many of them, and in some cases they're too arbitrary.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving along, we got another question from Whiskey. We know that player-run storefronts for items are a thing, but what about services? Will I be able to operate a gas station or a repair shop?
Yes, we're all about making a platform for that kind of emergent gameplay. I mean, one of the reasons why we try to introduce all these role-specific ships is because we see that people are already dreaming about what they can do in the universe. Setting up shops or being collecting down pilots. We want to give everybody the opportunity to refueling. We want to give everybody the ability to create their own kind of corporations without the game arbitrarily saying, no, you can't do that.
So, just to be clear, I think we're talking about real estate here, not just like a Starfare wandering around selling gas.
Yeah, real estate is coming. We're trying to do something beyond sort of the traditional like WoW Ultimate Online style. We have some ideas, and it's going to be one we give you more details on down the road.
Okay, fair enough. Still in concept. Gotcha. Third side, you had something?
In relation to that, I figure space real estate is easier for you guys to do. I mean, like a small space station that does refueling. I remember this coming up a long time ago in Wingman's Hangar, and I realized that's a long time ago and things change. But is that still the case? Is it more of a space thing than a ground thing?
We're thinking of both as options. I don't think it'll be one preference over the other. It'll just be what a particular landing site happens to be. Right now, our modular system for rooms lets us add whatever we'd like to the planet-side hangars, but we're also imagining, kind of preformed platform-style space stations we can stick together that will fulfill the same function. So both ground and space-based.
Cool.
Quick aside to that, as far as player-run storefronts and factories go, are you guys going to give us an in-depth look at your concept and design for that anytime soon?
It's not on our immediate schedule. I think it's something else. I think we'll probably kick off the social module, and then we'll start telling you what we're envisioning for it. So a little bit later in the year, I would imagine.
Okay, fair enough.
There's kind of a feeling we want to be able to prove that we can have this universe. It was the same way we sort of had to prove that we had Arena Commander that you could fly around before we told you how we were expanding. Yeah,
I think one of your best things you guys have done was the demo of the landing with the constellation in Arcor. I think that proved to a lot of people that it's not just words and pictures and stuff. It actually showed them that it could actually happen. And for me, that was one of the more exciting things I've seen you guys do, as far as, because it's something we really haven't seen before, not in that scale at least.
I'm glad that is exactly what we were going for, and kind of our next phase is, okay, we've shown them that it can work this way. Now we have to let them try it, and then we can expand. So yeah, that's a lot of what you'll be seeing in the social module.
Well, the next question comes from Cocaine Samurai, and he wanted to say, a long time ago, permanent durability stat was mentioned. Which systems will use this stat? Ship equipment, ship hulls, personal weapons, armor?
All of the above. There'll be a durability rating for pretty much everything. In fact, there already is, I believe, in the XML.
Oh, okay. So it's already there. It just hasn't been turned on at the moment.
Yeah, it's one of those systems. We kind of built AC as the basis, and you'll see these systems come online one at a time. The sensor system, durability, and overclocking, and so on as we go.
I think more specifically, the question was about the degradation system, like the permanent durability of items and stuff. Is that also being implemented for those?
You're thinking
like the wear system, how things eventually get older and look more tarnished.
Yes, that is being implemented. Some of the research we used on that ended up creating our new damage system, where we can do computer-generated damage states rather than having to go through and paint everything individually. So it's something we've been experimenting with, and it will kick off at some point. But the hope is to make it as procedurally generated as possible, rather than having to kind of preset 100 different age states for every object in the universe.
As far as the durability goes, are you still intending for things to be never to quite get back to perfect again, but you can repair stuff up to, like, I don't know, 80, 90% or something like that?
I know when we talk about durability states, it sounds like one of those scam games where, you shot your rifle 3 times, then it doesn't work anymore. We're not thinking of it that way. Just much more of you should have some sort of standard upkeep on any moving part, just like with the car. But we don't want to turn around and punish you with it. We don't want it to be a way to force you to buy more things constantly. It should just be, a little background flicker that's making the universe seem more real.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Moving along, we have another question from Cocaine. Well, I'm not sure how relevant it is, but let's try it. Will Class 5 man turrets have an automated mode to fire without NPC or crew input?
Sorry, are you talking about the automated the point defense turrets?
No. The Class 5 turrets, like in the Cutlass, the Constellation, the ones that have to be manned.
Yes.
Can you automate them?
Yeah. We are thinking of giving you the option of slaving them to your centerline guns, if you so desire. Again, that's kind of a debate. I remember in Wing Commander 4, they added an option to mass launch your missiles, and it just lets you win every mission if you do it. But you will have more control over your turrets, whether that means firing them independently, or maybe you have to switch to another screen in your control to do the turret remotely. There will be a lot more to them.
Okay. Next question. It's from me. In regards to the new modularity system introduced in the new letter, well, this was a little while ago. When are we expecting to see these systems in game?
I can't quite say when. You will see it with the Cutlass variants and the Avenger variants. I think probably when you see the Warlock and the others that we're not allowed to talk about yet, then you'll also see the modular system premiering. That may be. It's not going to be this month or next month, but anybody's guess after that, I would say.
Go ahead, Ian.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were going to follow up on that. I have a battery of questions for you from our own third star. The first being about alternate game modes for AC. Specifically, there was once a question prompted to Rob about alternate game modes in the works. One such mode that was mentioned was on Outline involved hauling cargo from one point to another. Would that and or other non-combat game modes still be in the works?
Yes, we're looking at a bunch of different possible non-combat modes. We're going to be using them to introduce systems for the wider universe on a small scale. So there may be, an exploration mode where you learn to go through jump points. There may be just a scanning mode where you're processing asteroids for mining.
Little treasure hunter mode.
The first new modes you're going to see will be combat oriented. We're going to do much more of a kind of an even balancing competitive ladder. So there'll be a mode, say, for just M50s racing or just Hornets fighting in standard dogfighting or kind of equalizing players. And then the iteration after 1.1 will be sort of a League of Legends system where you can have a number of points allocated for your upgrades, and you have a Hornet and you have 100 points and you outfit it the way you want, and your opponent outfits it the way he wants, and you battle that way. But plenty of combat and non-combat modes coming up.
All right. Second question is, could you explain all the little bits you're planning to include in the upcoming social module? Third had heard mention of something about taking off from a single planet being a feature for testing, and that seemed quite ambitious from what was expected from a social module.
Social module will not be taking off from a planet just yet. We call it the social module, but it's essentially the beachhead for the PU guys, where they get to start playing with all of you the way the flight systems guys have been for the past year. At launch, social module is open the door to your hangar, go outside, visit stores, see the mobiGlas interface, interact with other players in the world for the first time. And we'll start with kind of a very simple social module launch, and then we'll add character customization. We'll add traveling through spaceways, on a transport or shuttle to visit other hangars, and then we'll add the actual taking off, going into space, and then you'll have your first 5 star systems, which is what our big PU test is going to be by the end of the year. 5 star systems constructed, let players in, see what happens.
So what you're saying, Ben, is that you'll have a new platform to sell us more virtual stuff.
Hopefully. I'll tell you, we do not have the manpower for much flair at this point. We keep saying, we need to do flair for an event. We'd like to have more flair to give away. We'd like to have more flair to sell. And they say, no, we need it for core engineering. So you may not see too much to sell in the too much to buy in the social module to start. And I'm also really happy with the fact that Chris has made that a priority, that the resources go to core engineering before they go to more flair.
But how can we pay to be fabulous? I mean, come on, man.
Well, you're already pretty fabulous.
Oh, wow.
You.
Impressive details.
All right, go ahead, Ian.
So this probably ties in with the previous answer you gave, but what was happening to the room system? It's supposed to debut at the asteroid hangar, but we haven't seen much mention of it for a while.
The room system is in right now. It just there aren't any rooms for you to visit. So you will literally be seeing the room system in action with the social module launch, because it's the skeleton that lets you have rooms outside your hangar.
Right.
So social module for sure. And again, this is something we could do right now with people enough in time. We could say, okay, here's an extra room to sell you. Here's another room to sell you. It just hasn't been the focus of the team right now.
You just need to get all the actual stuff modeled and worked out.
Exactly, yeah, and it gets to a point where we say, okay, do we want to make everybody, a poker lounge they can buy for us, or do we want to make the various rooms that you'll need to buy things in the persistent universe to arm your ship? And so far, we've basically been using everybody we have to build our cities and our toolkits for those.
All right.
A question for me. Has there been any recent discussions about the planned size of systems? Maybe size can be interpreted as time to travel within the boundaries of the system, maybe from one side to the other.
I heard the discussion of this at the PU event, but it has been outside my wheelhouse, so I can't say much yet. So I am dodging this question. But I better avoid this one. I gotta let Tony and his guys stick up for their decisions there.
Oh, so it's Tony now. He's in control of that, because I remember the last time it was mentioned, Chris talked about it probably being around 30 minutes or so, but he never specified whether or not that was the 0.2c travel time or just flying around on your own power. So Chris is no longer in charge of that. It's all Tony.
Well, Chris is in charge of everything. We can't stress that hard enough.
Right.
But we're definitely deferring to the PU guys quite a bit at this point, where they say we want the experience to work like this, and we say, okay, let's try it out. And until we do, we actually have people playing it. If people get out there and they say, oh, this travel time is terrible. It ruins the game. It's too fast or it's too slow. We'll be able to work from there. That's part of the reason to get people leaving their hangars by the end of the year is so we can know that. But in regards to persistent universe travel time, definitely they're telling us what they think will be great, and we'll go with it until it isn't.
Just as a quick follow-up to that, is 64-bit float coming along nicely? Is there a planned release date for it, or?
No planned release date. It is coming along. We've hired a bunch more people who are highly experienced with CryEngine lately, so we're hoping that will have an impact in the near future.
The German office.
German office, definitely some Crytek veterans there.
Recently, though, it was said that the 0.2C for the quantum drive, it's going to be about 10 minutes to cross the system, roughly.
What did he say? Was it 9 minutes or 30 minutes?
I think it was 10 at the town hall is what they had said, but I haven't gone through all of it yet. There's so much.
And honestly, it's hearing that right now, it seems like it's from a star system should work this way standpoint, that seems like it's far too short. But from a will I actually stay engaged with a game, crossing a star system in 10 minutes seems like forever.
Well, I look at it this way. I mean, say you have to cross 5 systems to get from point A to point B. That's almost an hour.
Yeah, you are going 20% the speed of light, too. It's not that slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll bear some thinking about, and I think that any numbers we give today will not necessarily be final. But I personally couldn't predict which way it will go. I'm just imagining flying a Wing Commander mission that would take 10 minutes to get from place to place. That would be
boring.
It would be interesting. Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a lot of hurry up and wait, especially for people who just want to do cargo hauling. But I mean, on top of that, you're also going to have people or encounters along the way. So that's even going to add to your travel time. So it's not just going to be static time.
That's another thing we learned from like the Privateer games. There's a certain number of encounters that are fun, and if you ever play Privateer 2, you can see there's a certain number of encounters that aren't fun. And when you're getting pulled out of autopilot every couple seconds because there's more pirates and you can't do anything, it's just really frustrating. So that's another big balance point.
Yeah, I don't want to be fighting Zubats all day.
Here's a question. Do you think the matchmaker is going to take into account how beat up your ship is? Maybe you got into a scuffle or two along the way.
That is the plan right now. Again, I think the matchmaker is going to be one of those things that is just incredibly based on the player experience. We have our idea for how it should work, and we're going to kick it out into the world for you guys to test. And I'm guessing it will go through a dozen complete revisions from what we're imagining before we're happy with it. Similar to the physics.
All right, sounds good. Third, you had something to say?
Just working from what Brandy was asking earlier, can you tell us anything more about how fuel is intended to work?
Well, fuel, right now we're thinking will work very similar to the way it did in the original Wing Commander. So you will always need fuel for afterburners, and you'll always need fuel. Basically, our idea is that you'll have a certain amount of fuel for flight maneuvers. Once you're out of fuel, it's not going to literally strand you in space. It's going to severely limit your maneuvering and your overall speed, so you kind of have to slowly eke your way back home. That's essentially fuel.
Is there a difference between the kind of fuel you use for dogfighting maneuvering and what you use for quantum drive travel?
No, it all comes out of the same fuel tank, and it'll be kind of your job to moderate it the way you'd like.
Oh, that's really cool.
50.
So, any new information on the content creation system? Like details about what the GMs will be able to create on the fly? Things like spawn points and mission hubs or supernovas or just random events scattered around. Do they have control like that, or are they a little more limited?
Nothing to say to that quite yet. I mean, I guess I can kind of feel it coming together as we have these kind of internal patchwork kits where we can say, oh, create a planet there and squadron of fighters there, and their job is to defend anything in this 50-kilometer area and so on. But I think we're a bit of a ways off from the kind of user-friendly mod tools.
But that's still going to be down the pipeline. I mean, mods will be able to come in and just make a big event where a bunch of Vanduul are invading and kind of change it on the fly, right?
Oh yeah, that's a big part of what we're going to have to keep the game fresh.
Next question: will the duties for techs be similar, like techs on javelins or bigger ships? Will it be similar to what engineers do in the Battlefield series, like people running around in the guts with repair tools trying to fix stuff right before it's about to go critical? Or is it going to be mostly mobiGlas based, like computer screens and just fixing it from a feed?
Nope, we actually already have it in that you can be a physical engineer, repairing damage control teams in larger ships are going to be a big deal. So your captain will get a notification that, oh, there's fire in this deck, and your engineer will have to go down there to fix it himself, or you'll dispatch a droid, or any number of options to fix it. But yeah, we do want more than just, oh, you're sitting in front of a screen, this is damaged, click the fix button. You actually have to go down there.
So I can grab my repair tool and just go stop a pipe from bursting and blowing up the ship?
Yep, just hit it with your repair tool.
Yep, that's actually already in the game because they'll be using it in the first chapter of Squadron 42.
Oh wow!
And it's going to be cool. Really happy with how a lot of the cap ship systems are coming together.
Yeah, it's a fun feeling in the Battlefield series. You can just be an engineer and switch to your RPGs, and then quickly go to your repair tool and fix your tank and hop back in. It makes it a little bit more fresh. It's not like, oh, my computer screen's limiting me to what I can do.
Yeah, one of the things we look at kind of all these sci-fi archetypes and role of the engineer in a game. You want to be Scotty, so Scotty has to be able to both repair things during combat, and he has to be there to overclock the engines, push them that extra 10% that it doesn't seem like they should be able to get. We want all that in the game.
Awesome.
All right, moving along. Another question for me. We saw a video a couple weeks back about Zane Bien reskinning the existing cockpits with usable buttons like in the game DCS. He said it would allow you to adjust various bits of control inputs. When are we expecting to see anything like that implemented?
I am honestly not sure how far off that one is. I know Zane finished that initial pass, and it's active in kind of our main channel, but it has not been passed back to the Arena Commander branch yet. So without a better idea from production, I couldn't answer that one.
Okay. Just, we want buttons and stuff to press in our cockpits. Makes it more fun.
As does Chris Roberts. He wants it all to make sense and to have you animated using it.
Our next question is from Kast.
All right, so we all know that for Star Citizen, you've wanted to make ships to fill roles in what their design does, like you have fighters, bombers, etc. Well, I was wondering, do you have any niches that are simply not filled that you need to in the future? And if you do, are there any that you can kind of tell us about?
You mean other roles for ships?
I mean, is there any kind of open niche you're thinking of ships to fill right now?
No, I think we're pretty well covered at the moment. We will have sort of a big ship jam session later this year where we sort of evolve our next wave of ships and also roles that can go with them. But as it stands, I think all of our classes are covered. We do have a couple other ships that we want to get into the pipeline that aren't there yet, including the Forgotten Corvette, which Chris promised a while ago, and we just have not had time to design. We talked about doing a space motorcycle last year, and that never happened. And I think we'd like to get that in sooner than later if we can. But nothing role specific really. If you followed our last wave of ship developments, we went increasingly hardcore into the specific role stuff. We've got, Star Citizen's equivalent of 737. We've got a big mining platform like the Nostromo. We've got the different cargo ships. We've got a hospital ship, a research ship, and in many ways, developing ships like that lets us flesh out imagined roles in the universe. We didn't have anything incredibly specific for research until we developed the research dedicated ship. So now there's going to be all sorts of systems in the game that will match up to it. So ships are driving roles as much as roles are driving ships at this point.
So we should not really expect any major new roles that a ship has to fill, but we can expect things that like a ship that's designed to fill a role a bit differently than another ship.
I would say that's right. I think when you see the next time you see a ship that fills a role you didn't expect, it's something we didn't expect at this point either. But it's not uncommon to have that eureka moment where we're like, oh, they could do this in the game, and they just need this ship. But those two things come very closely one after another. So when we come up with a new role, we kind of figure out the ship shortly afterwards, or vice versa.
As far as roles go, Ben, there's one role that I don't think's been quite addressed, and I was wondering if there was an existing ship that could fill it, or I don't know. The role in question I'm thinking is a rearming ship, because obviously you're going to need support craft, and you're going to need to be rearmed. And since you guys mentioned that weaponry and ammo is actually going to have to be physically moved and mounted, rearming, I don't know, a Hornet, for example, and you don't have a carrier or even a larger ship, would things like the Crucible be repurposed for that, or what did you have in mind? I'm curious.
I will say that there is a ship that fits that role. It's part of the squadron set, so we haven't shown it off yet, but certainly the idea of a refueling rearming ship is in the works.
Well, you got a refueling ship already, right? The Starfare?
Yeah, we've got the Starfare, which is very large. We're thinking of a smaller, combat-oriented...
okay.
Tops off.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this will top off the weapons and the fuel of a single Hornet, that sort of thing.
All right, cool. So, okay, you do have those ships. You just haven't shared them with us.
We do. There's some military support stuff you haven't seen yet. Lots of Vanduul stuff you haven't seen yet. It's going to be interesting once Squadron comes out, because you're going to get a whole blast of new ships, basically.
Brandy?
Yeah, you mentioned that the Forgotten Corvette, and I was under the impression, or my thinking was that it might have been the 890, like the 890 was going to take over that role. Is the Corvette going to be around the same size as the original Idris, or is it going to get marginally bigger, and what's the plan on that?
No, we're thinking it will be a Corvette that's around the same size as the original Idris, so it's a smaller capital ship, probably without the capacities that we needed to add to the Idris to make it ready for a squadron and all the multiplayer battle stuff. But specifically, it just has not had any development time yet. It's one of those things that,
more civilian oriented then.
More civilian oriented. Think like a Coast Guard ship, with an option for well-to-do merchants to purchase them. It's one of those things. We'll do lists of all the ships we need to work on, and it's always a footnote at the bottom. But its time is coming.
Okay.
Azrael?
So Ben, you and the folks at CIG seem to get a lot of feedback from fans of Star Citizen, people interested in the game, and so forth, right?
Yeah, no question. We get feedback everywhere.
Okay, and when you say everywhere, because there's a lot of avenues where people are talking about the game. You've got your main forums, probably one of the main areas, but there's also an active subreddit, various threads on different forums, social media. You guys keep track of all of those?
We do, in so much as we can. I love the Reddit myself because it's just a great dipstick for the whole community. But we are constantly looking through the Game Ideas forum. We'll Jira stuff that seems interesting, and we hold events like the town hall. We watch the Star Citizen hashtag on Twitter. We continue to get Game Ideas submitted to like our Kickstarter account through the messaging system. So it really does come from everywhere, and I'd say there's no particular source that gives you the best ideas. It's a mix from everywhere.
That's a pretty interesting thing, then. I'm wondering, do you guys have a specific methodology for deciding, which feedback you're going to try and read through or listen to?
Well, I think we read pretty much everything. I don't know how he does it, but Chris Roberts seems to be ahead of anyone anywhere on the web talking about Star Citizen. I'll get in a Monday and they're like, "Oh, did you see these 6 forum threads?" Like, no, I didn't. I didn't spend my weekend reading the forums. But we do have a more ordered system where we'll go through we'll go through all the posts on the Game Ideas forum, and if something seems interesting, it goes into our internal wiki as a ticket for a designer to look at. And pretty much anyone on the team can initiate that process. So anybody who thinks something is a good idea can add it into the kind of universal thought process for the game.
Oh, if only we could see access to the internal wiki. Is that going to be a thing, Ben?
To some degree, yes, because we're going to open up bug reporting as we kind of need more and more outside testers. So we're redoing the bug reporting system where your tickets will go directly into our system and you'll be able to follow them as we interact with them.
Oh, yeah, you guys are going to open up a separate Jira, right, for testers, and then that's going to tie into your internal one?
Yep, that's exactly it. And we're trying to think of ways to make that interesting. Do we give UEC for bugs that are supported well? Do we have some ideas.
All right.
Chris Roberts reading the forums is actually a pretty interesting thing when it comes to a game company, but also slightly frightening.
Yeah, Chris seems to manage to read more than I do.
Third Star, you had something to say?
A random thought just sort of popped into my head when Kickstarter was mentioned. Just a very strange question. Are there any original backers from the first wave or Kickstarter who have never checked back in? Is that a thing? Is there a handful of people who have gone, okay, I gave them some money 2 years ago and that's it, and then never come back?
Oh, never integrated their accounts to the new site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You would be surprised. It's thousands and thousands of accounts. I think there's a certain percentage of people who, maybe you call them good Samaritans. They see a cool Kickstarter, they back it, and then they just don't think about it again. But it's thousands of people who backed at the start, and we haven't heard from since.
Any big accounts into the thousands, or just small time ones?
No, it's largely $250 or below.
That's still pretty big.
that is quite a bit of money, but anything larger than that, and they're still pretty active. But we do have a bunch of people who bought Constellation packages on Kickstarter, and they logged in once, and we never saw them again.
Whatever happens to dead accounts like that?
They'll still be there. They'll get a game in the mail, and hopefully, and they'll say, "Oh, I remember Star Citizen," and then they'll play. If not, someday they'll be. I guess they'll be pretty valuable for those people to discover. If a 2942 Constellation is a rare item in 10 years, they could pay back the fact that they helped us out early on.
So
Never
you're
been
saying
flown.
that the ship market is definitely real then?
Well, you never know.
Well, that's pretty good stuff to know then. I'm curious about something else. Have you heard of, Steam Workshop or PlanetSide 2's Player Studio? Do you know what those types of things are, where players create items to be used in a game, usually cosmetic items?
Oh, yeah. And we would love to do something like that. In fact, I think You could almost call Next Great Starship a very, very early version of that. For us, it's going to be something we do when we kind of have the tools to you guys. I think we would wish working in CryEngine on no one in the world. So we've got to build our own workshop for you guys.
Well,
So you guys hate CryEngine?
I think everyone, you work with CryEngine day in and day out for years, and yes, I'm sure it would happen with any engine. Maybe that's more me personally than some of the other guys. But it is a tough engine to learn. You get incredible results once you're proficient, but it's very tough for beginners and people like me who are not coders.
So confirmed, Sig hates CryEngine. From Ben. But
Yes,
as far as
confirmed.
that goes, at least you guys had vets like Dan Tracy and Sean to help you guys out early on. That must have really helped.
Oh, they're incredible. Actually, I was just watching on Skype the other day. One of the programmers, I think at Austin, was having some issue, and Sean Tracy, who is at home on paternity leave right now, said, "Oh, I can help you. Let me just virtual machine in and fix your problem in 2 minutes." They're something else.
That's really cool. Brandy, you had something to say.
You mentioned TNGS, and I just wanted to bring up Boomslang. Any idea when that's might be coming around?
We were really bullish on getting those other ships into the game early on, and as we've gone, we just have not had the tech design resources to do it. So they're in a holding pattern. We still love them. We just we haven't gotten to a point where we've been able to put people off of some of the ships we've sold to get those into the game.
But the current thinking is still that they'll get in eventually, right?
That is what we're thinking. Yeah.
Good.
Sounds good. Third Star, you had something to say.
Now, this is a question that I mean, Ben doesn't have to answer. It's not even really a question. We just want to say from Kong, we don't like the Redeemer. We really don't. We're not fans, but it did win, so
Begrudgingly accepted it.
pretty much.
Well, you
it
don't
doesn't
have to
even.
like every ship.
We plan to
Exactly.
shoot them every
That's-
time we see them.
I'm the guy that has to be carried in that thing, and I don't even. Can't you just throw me out the fucking window?
Well, I tell you what, it's actually not even our only landing ship right now. There's one they've developed in the UK for Squadron, so you'll have some options even before we get the Boomslang and the others in.
Oh, okay.
So there's a
there
whole
we
slew
go.
of ships we don't even know about then.
Mind if I talk out of turn for a sec? Ben, what's the word on the Prowler?
That has not gone for concept yet. It is in our next wave of ships. So right now the Hull C is out, or the Hull series is out for concept. The Vanguard, formerly Bulldog, the Starliner just went for concept this last week, and the Orion we're just starting the wrap-up process on. So I think once 2 or 3 of those are concept complete, then the Prowler and the Reliant will be going out for their development.
Quick aside, Ben. With the Prowler, the Teverin. Seriously, you guys haven't shown anything, talked about them. They pretty much don't exist as far as you guys are concerned. What's going on with them?
Sorry, which one doesn't exist?
The Teverin?
Oh, the reason.
See, you don't even remember.
I pronounced it Tavarin. I'm sorry, and that may not
okay.
be right.
I don't know.
But yeah, the very good reason why we have not spoken much about them lately is that they have not. They don't have a kind of model like the other races do. Chris Olivia did the Cheyenne, the Vandul, and the one I can't talk about
Bonnet?
yet.
Oh,
Bonnet too.
the other one. Yeah.
The other one, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
But
about.
we really want kind of a top quality Hollywood style VFX pass on all of our alien races, and they just haven't had it yet. So it will happen, and you'll see a lot more of them at some point, probably later this year. But until then, we're being quiet on them.
Well, we haven't even seen concept for it. Not even one little bit of it. No snippets.
Yeah, there's none right now. They are waiting their turn. Chris Olivia, who was with our, he designed a bunch of our aliens early on, and he was our chief visual officer until recently. He is basically coming back on contract to do all these things. He did the jump point video you just saw at PAX South. So he at some point will get the assignment to do the Tavaran. Right now, he's actually working on the box art for the game that people will be getting in the mail.
Oh, okay, cool. Third star.
This is a question for Ben, basically. Out of all the revealed alien races, Ben, which one is your favorite?
I would say I'm a fan of the Cheyenne. I like the turtle guys.
I like the giant too. Yay!
Third star in charge of ruining the lightning round.
Oh, my bad.
Azrael, did you have any more for that?
I had another question. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'll be the last one, and then we'll go into the lightning round.
All right. Well, I think I'm speaking to probably the definitive source on Wing Commander heritage here. So I'm asked, what sort of do you see coming in from the Wing Commander series, and to some extent Star Lancer in Squadron 42? How do you see that heritage playing into the game?
Well, Star Lancer especially. I mean, the interesting thing about the guys doing Squadron 42 is they have been together since those days. They did Privateer 2, Star Lancer, Battlestar Galactica for the Xbox, and then they did a whole mess of Lego games together, and now they're back doing Space Sims again. And I remember I took a tour of Digital Anvil in March 1999, the day after the Wing Commander movie premiere. Eric Peterson showed me around. He showed me the first look at Star Lancer ever, and he explained to me how Chris had this vision of a game where the mission never ends. You land your fighter, you get out, and you're in first-person mode, and you walk around the ship, and there's more. You interact with the story that way, and that is Squadron 42. It's very much the game they envisioned Star Lancer 2 being back then.
That does seem really amazing that we're seeing all these dreams that had existed for previous games like Star Lancer or Freelancer coming to fruition in Star Citizen. Do you think it helps that these are ideas that have been thought about for a long time or have been in the back of Chris's mind?
I think so. I mean, a lot of it is... It's definitely, we couldn't have done this technically back then. We're at a point where we can today. It's just such an interesting mix of that and the PC gaming market coming back around exactly where it is today. It's very cool. It's like bringing back a TV show after 10 years and just continuing it with it as though nothing had happened.
Well, I'm very happy that the conditions are such that it was able to happen.
Me too, because I saw them trying over and over again over the years to try to bring back Wing Commander, and it would either be some offensively idiotic project like, oh, what if we did Wing Commander as a Facebook game, or it would just be
Who even
oh,
suggested
EA
that?
would never budget this. Yeah. I actually worked on the Privateer Facebook game for a while. It was one of the stupidest projects I've ever
did that
heard
hurt your
existing.
soul?
Who would greenlight that?
Oh, well, that was EA, of course.
Okay.
They did they were going to do a Wing Commander browser game and an Ultima browser game. The Ultima one became a game called Lord of Ultima that was basically a browser-based RTS that had nothing to do with Ultima. I jumped at the chance to work on the Wing Commander one back in the day because I could write all sorts of elaborate fiction to go with it, but people would have hated it so much.
Did you leave the project, or did
heresy.
it just get trashed before it finished?
No, I wrote it out to the end, and it ended up being a money thing. They ran out of money.
Thank God. Well, all we have left for is now the lightning round, which is just a series of quick questions that we're going to ask you, Ben. Or rather, I will ask you, and you just fire off the first response you got. Are you ready?
Cool. Ready.
All right. Are you concerned?
I am not concerned at the moment.
Favorite ship?
Retaliator.
Funniest prank someone pulled in the office?
For some reason, my wife shooting me in the eye with a Nerf gun last week came to mind, so I'll go with that. It didn't seem funny at the time, but I guess my memory.
Is that the good eye or the bad eye?
Luckily, it was the bad eye.
Have you been getting too much booze from fans or not enough?
I think luckily we've kind of stepped away from the booze thing a little bit, so just enough, I'll say. James could probably use some more Fireball, though.
If you could start one ship over from scratch, which would it be?
That is a tough... It would probably be the Aurora. I think in a universe where it's the only starter ship, it's a pretty good starter ship. But as we've come up with the Mustang and the Reliant, you were getting to a point where, of course, you would pick the Mustang. So I think I would probably sex up the Aurora, or I would position the Aurora so it was like an even starter ship.
All right. Now this next question will determine whether we kick you off the server or not. Redeemer or Boomslang?
The Boomslang, that's my favorite one. I love it.
But seriously, which do you like better? You can be honest.
I honestly did not have a strong preference. I thought they were both pretty cool. It feels to me like the contest came down entirely to the presentation of the video at the end, and the guys on the Redeemer just
had
they put
much
that extra
better.
effort into it.
Yeah, they had a much stronger showing on that. I agree.
But I think they were both Star Citizen quality ships.
Oh, okay. Nice community answer. Well, we already asked you what your favorite alien race was. Thank you, Third. What thing in SC did you have the most fun naming?
Gosh, let's see. Well, the Grey Cat is my favorite one to talk about. I think I see people finally picked up on the anagrams of names. There's like 4 others on the web from like the last couple of months if you go back and search. I don't know. Just last week
Lesnick.
Really... yeah, those. Just last week I had a really good time with the buggy skins. The art guys came and said, "Okay, we've done 6 buggy skins. You want to name them?" And I said, "Oh, well, Sandy is really into cars. She can help." And we sat down and looked at like color swatches from Porsche and named the buggy skins. There's always something interesting.
All right. Hey, Mr. Al, how many Gladiator torpedoes does it take to get to the center of an Idris frigate?
7.
All right. And finally, how much money have you personally spent on Star Citizen spaceships?
I have spent about $1,000 at this point, I think.
All right.
Nice.
You were in good company.
Plus $30 for the very first package ever purchased, with Chris Roberts promised he would pay me back for, and still has not. Just test the website. I'll give you the money. Haven't seen it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here, Ben, and giving up part of your Sunday.
No problem. It was nice to see so many people who are not excited about football.
There's a game happening? What?
Yeah, it's not really our thing. But
does Ben mean soccer? Because that's the only kind of football I know.
Could it be space football?
Thanks everybody for listening, and have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to Kast.